Presented by Caltech.
I remember, because it was only 2 months ago, but I was driving my car with my friend Tim, a fellow CS major, and we decided to drive to my friend Jerry's apartment complex. And it was a good thing that he was there to pick me up, because he had to take out my 27-inch desktop monitor, and as I carried my laptop in my left hand and the sleeping bag in my right hand, we kind of hobbled over to his room, and I sat my rig down next to his gigantic desktop setup. And us three, me, Tim, and Jerry, then sat down at the table, and then we discussed what we were going to be doing for the next 72 hours. So what exactly did I do during these 72 hours, and why did I need to go to someone's house to do it? This was not a Caltech set, this was not a Caltech project. What we actually did instead was a game jam. Now, a game jam, at least this game jam, was a global game jam, and you had 72 hours to complete a game from scratch. So you had to make everything, including the sound, the music, the art, the coding, and the design of the story. All of that had to be done in 72 hours. And after that, you had to submit it to some online portal where everybody else can look at your game and review it or play it. So naturally, I was pretty excited because this is my first time doing it. But when I think about it, I also think I was excited about it because it was different from like the typical CS major that, CS curriculum that I had. I walked into Caltech as a Chem E major for some reason, and then, once I took CS1, I knew that I liked programming. But that passion didn't really stay too long. During my first few years at Caltech, I really tried to catch up with the rest of my peers because I was behind. I didn't really have that much of a background in programming. So, you know, I stayed up late doing the Intro to Programming Methods class. A lot of people here had to go through the infamous tile problem in one of our classes, CS21. And I also had to stay up long, late hours at night to do the algorithm sets that everybody, so at least in the CS curriculum, it's a feared thing. And overall, I'm happy that I got the skill set that everybody else did. But at the same time, it's kind of strange for me because this curriculum kind of prepares everybody in the same way with the same skill set. And in a way, like when I talk with my peers about CS, there's really not that much of a difference between me and this other person or me and this other person. All the sets are kind of done in a way where everybody converges to the right answer. There's not really that many different approaches to these problems. So, you know, while it was nice for me to be like others, I also didn't want to really just follow lectures or follow professors or follow problem sets. I wanted to create too. And you know, this is kind of difficult for me because my passion for CS was also waning. I mean, the CS prospects in the future are pretty good, right? Software engineering is a pretty privileged job. You have decent pay, you're sitting in an office that's air conditioning, and you don't have to do any sort of manual labor, like I could do any. But you know, I didn't want to just be happy with it. I wanted to create. And thankfully, as a senior, I had a lot of time on my hands because I took all my hard classes as a freshman. So my friend Jerry and I often went on escapades to escape Caltech and escape the CS curriculum. One of these escapades, we went to this convention over in the East Coast, and it was a game convention. And it was, you know, humbling because as I walked around the booths and I saw all these games, it reminded me of what brought me to programming in the first place. And that was because I played this one game in middle school called Cave Story. Now, just a brief background. When I was a kid, I loved video games in general. Elementary school, middle school, games were kind of my source of entertainment. But when I saw online that there was critical acclaim for this one game called Cave Story, I was kind of interested because, you know, it's a game and I like games. So here is what the loading screen of Cave Story looks like. I was not impressed either because, as you can see, there are like 3 colors on the screen, and everything is relatively pixelated. I was expecting some sort of like Halo 3 level detail. So I was not, you know, impressed. But it was a free game, and I decided to take a go at it anyway. And let me just tell you that the first impressions that I had were completely wrong, because these graphics, even though you don't really see it, and it's more fuller scale, they worked with the game. Like the game's intention was not to be super technically impressive, nor having the sound be like orchestra level quality. The game was designed so that all these little pieces fit together to make the whole a bigger picture. And to briefly state this, this game was free, and it was done by one person, which made it even more impressive to me. Studio Pixel, Pixel is the name of the developer, or the art name of the developer. He was the one that solely coded everything, created all the art, created all the music, and all the design. And he did this when he was a college student for a 5-year-long self-project because he wanted to learn the C programming language. What was I doing? I don't really know. And when I really thought about it, it was interesting to me because he created this game out of his own volition, and he did it and he released it for free. Typically, when I imagine large game studios would spend a lot of money into making a game because they want to profit out of these games. They wanted to monetize it. But this game was free. Anybody can play this game. And it made me wonder, why was he doing this? And then as I kind of searched deeper and deeper, I realized that just the overall smoothness of the game, the art and the graphics, how they all fit together, I feel like that Pixel made this game because he wanted to express his vision about a story that he wanted to convey. And it made me realize then that Cave Story is such a widespread game, and it's super popular now, but it's free. And it made me realize that games are not just entertainment. I feel like they can also be art. So fast forwarding to this game jam, in the beginning of the 72 hours, when we were going through this game jam, I kind of was developing a very similar mindset, like Pixel, where I remember grabbing this chicken nugget box from McDonald's because I wanted to create my own sound effects. So I often used my fingers to press onto the box and put them right next to the microphone to mimic the sound of walking or to mimic the sound of jumping. And then why was I doing that though? Why didn't I decide to just get online MP3 files of walking? And I think it's because I wanted to make the game my way. It was not just hey, I want to release a product and have people look at it. It's I want to release my product. I wanted to own this game. And in a way, it became I want this game to be an expression of myself. And once I realized that, this game to me is a piece of art. What I want to do as an artist is to create art. So after these 72 hours, as Jerry, Tim, and I stopped the brushstrokes of our keyboards, I hovered my mouse over the submit button, and I was very excited, yet also afraid, because I wanted to show the world the painting that I had painted, the game that I had created, and ultimately, the story that I had written. Thank you.